The following podcast is meant to inform and entertain. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of others, experts, or anyone capable of thinking. Occasionally, we may go off topic or say something offensive. We're just a couple of humans trying to create better lives for our animals. Yours truly, The Bark. P.S. Please don't sue us.
This is The Bark, a pet podcast unleashed.
Right. We are here once again.
If you're still listening, thank you for following.
And if this is your first time, welcome.
Yeah.
We hope you stick around. I think we're starting to say you got to bring a stress ball, bowl, popcorn, or a box of tissues. It's kind of a roller coaster of emotions.
Yes.
But so in our last episode, we talked a lot about spay and neuter because we were talking about responsible pet ownership. And today we're just going to dive a little bit more into that because we didn't want to get too in the weeds last time, but we understand that there's barriers to being a responsible pet owner right now. And so today we're really going to dissect maybe what's preventing people from being able to fix their pet if they want to, or, you know, just kind of how that pathway is closed off for people right now. And like I don't remember what president said this. Shame on me. With great power comes great responsibility.
Oh,
I don't know who that is.
President.
It's not a president. It's someone influential. It wasn't me. I don't think Spider-Man said it.
Was he
Maybe
the first
he did.
One? He does. I do think he does say it, but was he the first one? Is a proverb popularized by Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You weren't joking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm out of here. But we say that because, we don't believe, at least, with Laws Saving Paws, who this podcast is sponsored by, or at least presented by, I should say, we don't believe in just telling people what to do, to preaching, to condemning. We like to empower them. Are you still laughing about Spider-Man?
Hold on. Can I share this with you? I'm laughing because it says that with great power comes great responsibility was introduced by Stan Lee and originally appeared as a closing narration in the 1962 Amazing Fantasy number 15 and was later attributed to Uncle Ben as advice to the younger Peter Parker. But here's the thing. When I read Uncle Ben, I was thinking of rice.
That's fair. I thought about the clock in Europe.
That's Big Ben.
Which is very different.
So I'm over here giggling while you're like very seriously bringing us into this episode of our podcast. So,
Candy's giggling about some rice over there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's not the Uncle Ben they're talking about. Sorry.
It's okay.
This is
great. We're human. We need to be human.
Right. I feel like I'm disgracing Jim, who is a huge Marvel fan, and I'm not following, but I get it now. So
great.
Thanks.
Well,
sorry. Bring us back.
Listen, this is education for all of us.
Yeah.
It's not just the people listening, right? So, or that we're talking to. So, it'll allow me to back up a little anyway, because I've not been great about this. Candy and I also, we're so familiar with what we're doing, right, Candy? Right. We say things that maybe people listening may not know about. Like I think a couple episodes ago, we talked about ACOs, which are animal control officers. I'm going to apologize in advance because that may happen. And we're going to try really hard to keep ourselves honest and explain what we need to.
Right.
But again, this is where the listener engagement comes into. If you have questions, comments, if you're like, hey man, we don't know what you're talking about. Right. We're going to do a better job to explain, some of the language we use. Yeah. So that being said, we are The Bark. We're presented by Laws Saving Paws, the nonprofit in Columbia, Tennessee. If you're feeling compelled to support what we're doing after you've listened to this, you can visit our website at lawsavingpaws.org and just kind of find out what we're doing, how, like I said, how you can support, the impact we're trying to make with the animal overpopulation. And without further ado, I guess we'll dive into more of the spay and neuter stuff, right? We're going to talk about the barriers, more of the impact.
I like the name of this episode. Balls to the wall.
Yep, it is. I was like, do I say that? Thank you.
You're
you know
welcome.
what? Yeah, it's catchy.
Yeah,
right?
it is. And this is the episode where we explain to listeners how the rescue and the pet population community is pressed against the wall when it comes to spay neuter.
Yes,
so
100%. So I think we're pretty much about data. Like we love numbers. Like I know Candy likes to, we can't state anything without having reason to back it up and numbers and proof, which completely makes sense.
Right.
So this is an interesting statistic that I've seen in a lot of places lately. And in just 6 years, one pair of unfixed dogs and their offspring can produce 67,000 dogs. And that's a little over 11,000 dogs per year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why people are saying like, when they talk about people like, making love like bunnies. It's like, why are we saying like dogs? Like if that's the dog numbers, what are the bunny numbers?
Yeah. I was doing some research for this show and saw a comment where somebody responded to a spay neuter kind of chain and said, dogs were meant to mate. They don't want to be spayed or neutered. And I'm like, are we serious? Like, come on. We've got to have these are domesticated animals. When we domesticate an animal and bring it into our homes, we have to also manage the population. It's not like bunnies who literally mate and mate and mate. But when they're out in the wild, nature automatically manages that pet population.
Right.
We have to take responsibility.
That's a really great way to say that.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, like anything, too much of a good thing can become a bad thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's what we are trying to educate and talk about this stuff before we get to a point where it's like, well, crap. We need some mandates that with enforcement with this, we're trying to really like lean into the ability for people to make their own decisions while we can.
Right.
But I mean, if we continue on this path, I think that could change, to be honest. So, Candy, why don't you tell us a little about the story of the rats in New York City?
Yes.
This is an interesting way to control the animal population of the roaming or at-large dogs or any animal that's not fixed, right?
Right. So recently, I'm trying to quickly pull up the information, but recently there was somebody who passed a program in New York City because there was an overabundance of rats running wild. And the way to get rid of rats is usually people like to use pesticides and things like that. But when you can't just kill all the rats in New York. You'd have to.
You can't.
I mean, where are we going to put all these poisons and pesticides and everything before it's in our own waterways? Speaking of water again, before it's impacting our children, our health, and things like that. So what these people in New York thought about was, well, we can't kill them all. And is it even humane or just to kill them all when we're the ones that are supplying them with all the garbage and the food and everything and all this and that? They got a little smart. And what they did was they started a program where rats, I guess, tend to eat at the same location. They build a pattern and everything. Mm-hmm. So they said, well, what if we feed the rats? And in that rat food, we put birth control. So that as the rats die naturally, they're also not making more rats. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that will help the population control. It's kind of like trap, neuter, return. Mm-hmm. You have stray cats that after over a certain age, if the cat is stray, you can't put it in a home. It's now a wild animal, but you also don't want it to produce. So we have these trap, neuter, return programs where the cats are brought in, spayed or neutered, and then brought back to their same community as the safest, most humane way for that cat is you return it to the community where it came from. I started in trap, neuter, return with my rescue efforts. And one of the first cases I was given was over 20 cats at a man's home. He started feeding one or two. It was a great kumbaya little community in his neighborhood and in his backyard. And before you knew it, he was overrun by cats. But
oh, good Lord.
I will tell you.
That is a horror movie in the making, by the way.
Yes, and he was the sweetest man, just trying to be humane and trying to be nice and everything. And he grew his own little colony of cats. His neighbors were not happy. But we went and we collected them. We trapped them. We fixed them. We returned them. And the day that we returned them, we found 3 kittens. So we took those, and they were young enough where they could be adopted out into homes. But I will say that upon fixing all those 20-ish cats in that colony, by the time nature takes its course, there were no new cats added to the colony, and it was really brought down to a more manageable level within a few months.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible. And it's a humane, I mean, it's what we believe to be a humane way of doing it. And so kind of like Candy mentioned with the rats, with the birth control food, there is someone who, I think it's the founder of PETA, maybe, I don't know. David Duchovny is like the spokesperson.
Yes, I saw that.
So this guy is the one who kind of, took this project by the reins and said, okay, let's do this for dogs. There's a huge homeless animal population for dogs. And I don't think he was necessarily talking about in America. He was talking about in other countries, but, why not? I mean, if they're going to the same spot every day to feed, or, and people are feeding them, and why not give them food to keep them from reproducing? So anyways, this has been something, it sounds like it's been in the making for a really long time. It's interesting. This has been in the making probably since is it the 60s or something? I mean, it's been explored for a really long time. Yeah. And I think it's still not developed. There is, I think the website is called 600million.org. And it says, welcome to My Dog is on the Pill. 600 million stray dogs need you. But again, this is something I would love, to talk about this with a veterinarian, kind of like we've talked about having guests on this show. And I think that would be such a great person to talk with about, what they've heard about this, what could be holding it up, pros and cons, things like that. But I love this idea. Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
What do you think about it?
I think it's great. I think the programs, we started off talking about the rat, what's the word I'm looking for? Birth control.
Yes.
They're a little different. So the rat birth control, to my understanding, it's a even level, like in humans, where you have this even level of a hormone that keeps the rat from becoming pregnant. I won't go into the detail of how birth control works. If you're not sure,
that's another podcast.
Google it. And be careful what antibiotics you're on. So just going to throw that out there too. There's a lot of people who don't realize that antibiotics can interact with your birth control.
Oh yeah, your doctor should be telling you that.
Yeah, your doctor.
Okay. I coulda, woulda, shoulda.
I've learned that apparently in my day and age, we got great sex ed. But apparently the generations before us.
No, we have Netflix now. It's fine.
Yeah. Netflix and chill is where the problem starts.
Fine.
Okay. So I think the programs are a little bit different, in that I think the rodent birth control functions similar to human birth control, where you're giving a certain hormone to where the rat can't get pregnant. The dog, from what I understand of the dog solution, is once that dog gets that one treat, they're sterilized. So they're studying it. I saw that, what they're doing is, as part of their study, is they're giving some dogs these cookies, and when the dog takes it, the dog will be sterilized. And what they're doing is they're waiting a few months and then spaying or neutering the dog to remove the reproductive organs and analyze, did that cookie sterilize this dog? So the dog would only need one of the cookies. It's not like a continuous, you have to keep it going.
That's interesting. Okay, I didn't realize that.
So where it's at in the legislature, I don't know. David Duchovny, call me.
Did he give you an update?
Yeah, give us an update. And I do want to do a little bit more research. The rat birth control was brought forward by New York City Council member Sean Abreu. He launched the bill 736, or Flacco's Law, on September 26, 2024. He's been given some funding to manage the rat population in New York, which is only the third rattiest city in the U.S.
What are can we just go?
You want me to tell you?
First two?
Anybody want to guess before I get to the answer? I'm trying to figure out.
L.A.
It's LA. And
sorry,
do you
LA
want
folks?
Yeah.
Not Boston. Boston's cleaner than New York.
Any other guesses?
No. That's it.
Okay. So New York has been ranked. This is an ABC News article. New York has been ranked as the third rattiest city in the country behind Los Angeles and Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the pizza Master Shredder or Sensei and the Ninja Turtles. Maybe they're after the Chicago pizza.
Wow, that was a reference.
Yeah. So,
whoa. Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles. Where's that tangent jar?
Right. Oh, yes. We need our tangent jar. So that's what's going on here is these are all different methods, and it's some really creative thinking, some out of the box solutions to address these issues. We don't want to allow reproduction to only exterminate. It's not humane. It doesn't make sense, and it's a waste of money, quite frankly.
Well, and when I first started this venture, before I even knew Candy, and I was just kind of networking and talking to people who had been in it for a while, right off the bat, I thought, oh, breeding laws, that's the answer. Breeding laws. Not saying they're not, but in conjunction with other things, right? But the second thing, spay and neuter. Right. I hadn't even realized until I started talking to all these folks how much it was contributing to the animal population. And honestly, I've been blessed enough in my life to go to my private vet and just, okay, here's my dog. I'll pick him up tomorrow. You know what I mean?
And be able to afford it.
Absolutely. It's been accessible. It's been exactly. I've been able to afford it. And so it's been super insightful. And just, I don't know.
I also don't think there are people who think, well, I don't want to neuter my boy dog. I don't want to cut his balls off, I wouldn't want that done to me. I've seen all kinds of commentary, and it's insane. It's like, okay, we do have men who get vasectomies. We do. And nowadays, I'll tell you, I had a foster of mine fixed, and I had to ask the nurse, why did you take the coins and not the purse? So not everything goes. Nowadays, there are.
And it's quick.
It's quick. And there are dog vasectomies. You can, instead of having a complete neuter, you can have a vasectomy if that's your choice. And I don't think that people realize that when your dogs mate and a female gets pregnant, there is a risk to their life. If you've never helped a dog through delivery and you don't know what signs to look for in an emergency or whatnot, it's not fair to just have that dog at home delivering. All sorts of things can go wrong, especially smaller breeds. There's a lot of people who want to breed their Frenchie. Most Frenchies need a C-section. They just do. So better have $5 to $10,000 in your wallet for that delivery for a C-section and any help that mom or pups need beyond that typical C-section. If anything else should happen to go wrong. So if you think you're going to make money off of Frenchies, and
it's going to be a wash. Sounds like
it might be a wash, or you might have to make sure that your purchase fee is at a certain level, and at that level, can you find adopters, and that's where being a knowledgeable adopter comes into play. 100%. Because part of responsible breeding is. And I don't want to get into the whole breeding thing in this episode.
We will have an episode about breeding.
But just talking about the spay neuter part, there are contingencies. I mean, are you going to sit there and are you going to rush your dog to the emergency vet during delivery? Or are you going to sit there and watch it die because you don't want to spend that money? That's something to consider. And before you get in that pinch, consider, do I want to be in that situation? Or do I just want to spend a whole lot less money to get my dog spayed or neutered when age appropriate? I'm going to circle back to that age appropriate. Just want to remind people, because a lot of people don't realize it. Dogs can go into their first heat at 6 months, as early as 6 months. They usually have depending on the breed, could have 3 heats a year. Cats go into heat as early as 4 months and can have a few heats in a year. So just want to remind you, make your appointment before that deadline. Make your appointment before that 6 or 4 month mark, depending on whether you have a cat or a dog. Do not wait till they're in heat. It costs more while they're in heat, or you have to wait for them to go out of heat.
Oh,
So
I didn't realize that it got more expensive too.
And while they're in heat, you have to keep barriers up. It's just a whole life change for a while you're trying to keep dogs separated indoors and outdoors from each other. But anyway, we're here to talk about the barriers. There are low-cost spay neuter clinics. They are frequently filled up. Part of the issue at spay neuter clinics is they're trying to help the community. People will book an appointment, then they don't show up. And that's a lost spot for a dog that could have been fixed that now is not fixed because somebody took an appointment that they didn't fulfill.
So that's where the education component comes in, because when I talk to people about this, they say, well, we need more affordable, like low cost clinics. You know, we need more of this, which I don't disagree with, but it's like you just said, what is the point of having all of these affordable clinics if someone isn't educated enough to want to do that for their animal in the first place? And
I will tell you, these clinics, there's a few clinics that I've tried to use and I can never get in. They're always full. And these clinics, you know, some people might be, might not like this, but a lot of the clinics will require a deposit, and the deposit is to make sure you show up.
I mean, there's a reason.
Right.
Yeah. I know when I give my money to someone, I'm probably going to use that service if I'm giving them my money to reserve a spot.
Exactly.
So, I mean, not rocket science.
That's the reason for the deposit.
Yeah.
So that's what you're dealing with. So the question is, we have all these spay neuter clinics. Why isn't it getting us over the hump?
And I think a lot of that, I'll kind of share a trip that I had recently that gave me really good insight into some of our barriers, like you had just asked. I went to Nicaragua in the spring. I think it was March of this past year, and it was with several veterinarians, and it was really on a mission to just help the population, like the animal population there, and help spay and neuter these people's animals. I mean, listen, there are a lot of dogs and cats running around, and I thought, wow, this looks a lot like Tennessee. Yeah. But I mean, I watched veterinarians operate on dogs from a lawn chair. We set up in areas without electricity, with very little water, with very poor lighting. I mean, in the middle of I can't even describe the conditions, but upon returning from this trip, I said, how on earth is this able to happen? But in Tennessee, for instance, from what I've gathered, it's so hard to achieve. And so this kind of brings me back to your question. Like, we have a lot of the mobile clinics, but I will say mobile clinics are not the same as pop-up clinics. And what we don't have are pop-up clinics. And that is because of the legislation that makes it so hard to get those in place. Yeah. So just for you guys who may be wondering, this was kind of news to me until recently, but mobile clinic, right? You apply. If you're a veterinarian, you have the money to have a mobile clinic. And what you do is you get that van, that mobile unit approved. You get a premises permit. So you can then take that van wherever you want and do your surgeries inside of that. Obviously, it's a lower amount of animals that you're able to serve. You don't have recovery areas. You know, it's very different. But regardless, like that unit is permitted to do that. The difference between a pop-up clinic is that you don't have a van that's already been inspected. Right. Like with a pop-up, usually
not everybody has a van to turn into.
It's money. Yeah. It costs money. It costs a lot of money to do that. Exactly. And so what there are a lot of communities outside of Tennessee doing, who even travel throughout the United States offering their services. They will come, they will set up in a gymnasium, in a community center, in a church. They will set up pop-up clinics. Okay. Larger amount of space, right? You can serve more animals. You can have more veterinarians. The issue is in Tennessee, in order to get a premises permit for one of those spaces, you need a lot of advance warning. They need to come look at the spot. There are just a lot of hoops to jump through, which make it really difficult. And so kind of circling back from this trip when I returned and I saw a cat being neutered on a lawn chair.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All of these animals, we lost a couple because of their health, but these animals recovered. We laid them on the ground. We monitored them. I mean, it was not anything very sophisticated.
Yeah.
And then they were released out,
right.
you know, and they couldn't reproduce.
Yeah. I think it has to do with legislation. And hopefully we have some legislators who listen to this and maybe want to back a bill or two. But again, call me, David. Don't forget, call me.
We'll give you the email address really quickly.
Yes.
So just to remind y'all, it's the bark@lawsavingpaws.org.
Right.
We encourage emails.
Yeah.
Yay.
That's one thing. But also, who's going to do it? I, being in rescue, run into the issue where there's lots of veterinarians around me, but none of the practices offer discounts, even to rescues, even to, 501c3 registered nonprofits. So even if you find these nonprofit locations, what vet is going to do it because they're making bank at a private practice? And there are, maybe the spay neuter clinics, they already have their systems set up. So I think it's also, we need some community participation from our health practitioners.
Yes. So. Well, and that is a barrier in and of itself, because I know from many conversations with people that they tried to amend this premises permit law a few years ago. And what had happened is they had a lot of, I wouldn't say backlash, but they did not have the support from the veterinarians that they needed to pass this bill.
I mean, the vets around me, spay neuter starts at $350 for the smallest dog, and it increases by size because of the anesthesia that you're using and other equipment. But yeah, spay neuter in our area here in Middle Tennessee starts at $350 and goes up.
But there's no, and here's the whole, you're making, you're getting in your own way thing, right? I mean, veterinarians, I think the burnout is crazy. I know, at least for maybe not veterinarians, but what are they? The
vet techs.
The vet techs, the pay is not great. The flexibility isn't great. I'm pretty sure the suicide rate is number 4 now for veterinarians. I mean, the burnout, like I said, is real. So you can't, this legislation, this legislative move would, I wouldn't even say it would create competition. It would reduce some of the strain.
Yeah, I would think so too. But it sounds like we have all these great solutions. We're starting to think about the out of the box solutions, but we've got to coordinate all of them, and 100%. We've got to get everybody lined up and on the same page. And if anybody wants to make that big push, maybe that's why we're doing this podcast. Maybe we can initiate some clinics through the bark. Maybe we can initiate some more fostering, some more help. I mean, write to us if you're curious. One thing I would say about rescues, that I had a few lessons learned with the rescues, is go onto a rescues like Yelp page, if they have a Yelp page, or a Google page, and look at their Google reviews.
Yeah, Yelp can't be trusted. I wouldn't do Yelp anymore. Don't Yelp.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say go on Google and look at their reviews, see how that rescue is treating their adopters, their fosters, things like that. If you're a foster, if you're an adopter, leave a review. Did you have a good experience? Did you not?
That's a great idea.
Take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because sometimes people will leave a bad review when they were not approved to adopt, and not everyone is in a good adoption situation. I just did a meet and greet yesterday, and wonderful young man, but his house was a mess. And I told him right off the bat, this dog that you're interested in, the adoption, I don't think it's going to work out based on the 2 dogs. The dog that is already in the home was not very receptive to the new dog, but put that aside. The point being, the dog that he's interested in is adult, mature, well-behaved, not a chewer. But when I walked in that home and saw how it wasn't dirty, but it was scattered, messy. And I said, if you were adopting a puppy, I'd tell you no right away, because I don't want to get the phone call that a puppy chewed something, got it lodged in its system, and it had to have surgery or worse, right? So you have to read these reviews with some level of a foundation, saying there's going to be some ticked off customers, if you will, adopters. who aren't happy because they didn't get approved for the adoption, or maybe there's only, 2 puppies, but there's 5 adopters. So that's something to consider. Anyway, I would look at the rescues if you're interested in fostering, see what the commentary is about that rescue, and find one that you feel comfortable with. Ask them what their practices are. Make sure that they are spay neutering before they're adopting out, or if it's a puppy that where it's not age appropriate yet, look at their contract. Make sure that their contract says that it is the adopter's responsibility to get that puppy spayed or neutered once that puppy is of an appropriate age. So, but anyway, going back to what we were saying is, yeah, we need to all be on the same page. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're educating. And we want to hear from you. Like you said earlier, Megan, if you have ideas, maybe we don't have a program yet, but if you want to write into us and say, I want to be part of the solution.
Yep. 100%. And I think, there are a lot of low cost spay neuter clinics now. So if you're in a position to help something a little more directly like that, I mean, gosh, look at the ones like Candy said, though, vet them, right? Make sure you align with what they're doing and they're using your donations responsibly.
Right.
But it'll help them increase their reach. Or, if you live in a rural area, for instance, that's another thing. I think a lot of these problems, I guess, are even bigger problems in rural areas because the access isn't there. No one wants to go out there. You have a limited number of veterinarians with mobile units getting out there. So if you have a good community of veterinarians, like all get together, chip in.
Yeah.
I mean, create a mobile unit. And it's just, those are the barriers, though.
One thing to bring up between the shelters, the city shelters, and then the rural shelters is the city shelters are often big enough. They have better programs just because there's more people who are in need. So you can build upon scale. And one thing that I would say is in these city shelters, they often have their own vet on staff.
Yep.
In the rural shelters, not only do they not have a vet on staff, sometimes they'll partner with a local vet. So you'll have to pay that local vet. It might be a reduced rate, might not. And in the rural areas, there do tend to be lower costs. So if you're living in the city and you can't afford a big city vet's rate and you can't get into a spay neuter program, maybe call the vet in the town over. Maybe they have reduced rates that you can afford.
I mean, and if there's a group of you as well, if you live in an area where that is not getting access, but there is like a good considerable number of you or considerable number of you guys who want surgery for your animal, I mean, band together.
Right. Maybe call a vet and say, if we line up 5 dogs, will you give us a discount?
Yes.
A discount or something like that.
Yes.
The other thing I'll say is a lot of people don't realize this, but there are counties that don't have shelters at all. Or like I mentioned in a previous episode.
Yep. I do just want to interrupt if you're sitting behind your computer and watching this, we do have representation of that on our website, lawsavingpaws.org/issues, ISSUES. And like Candy's about to talk about, we have a map that just represents the counties that municipal shelter, no shelter, a dog only. You see a lot of dog only municipal shelters. And then you have shelters that are run by nonprofits, which means there's no animal control and they don't have city funding. So
yes, sometimes those can have some city funding. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you have nothing in the county. You have no animal control. You have no shelter. You might not have a rescue or a humane society in that area either. So do your research, especially do your research before you get a dog. And if you do want to get a dog, rescue. Go to a shelter, maybe the town over. And as we mentioned in an earlier episode, rescues, shelters, humane organizations in the state of Tennessee are required to spay neuter before the dog is adopted out, or to require spay neuter once the dog is of an appropriate age. So find out the policy and make sure to follow it. And then also,
and if there's not one in place, you should challenge that.
Right, exactly.
Or let us know.
Exactly.
Because we wanna ask why.
Exactly. The other thing I would say is if you are fortunate enough to have some funding, call one of these low-cost spay neuters and sponsor a few spay neuters. Maybe the owner of the pet pays the deposit. That way we make sure that visit is fulfilled. But maybe you pay the remainder and sponsor a few spay or neuters of cats or dogs or whatnot. If you live in an area where you see a lot of stray cats, find out about your nearest trap, neuter, return program.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what those cats need? They just need a ride to the vet and back. If there's a program in your area, the program will pay for the spay neuter and vaccinations. And all those cats would need is somebody to learn how to humanely trap cats, bring them in for their spay neuter.
I would not be signing up for that, by the way.
Yeah. And bring them back. I've done it. It's an interesting experience. It was hilarious and funny all at the same time, and kind of like, oh, wow, these cats are a little stinky.
But like, you know, it's so funny though, when you talk about how you just participated in that, if you are a person saying, I want to help, I want to see instant gratification, I want to tangibly do something, do that.
Yes.
I mean, literally, like if your neighbor has a dog that can't get to their appointment, take that dog.
Yeah.
That will make you feel good. You'll get your gratification.
Yep.
Here's the thing too. And I just want to say, I think we understand that we are not going to eliminate all of these problems, right? No. It's not realistic. But I think even making a dent in the issues, I just would make a world of difference. And, you know, sometimes I've been thinking about this lately where I think if I can talk to one person who maybe is breeding in their backyard, maybe breeding unethically, if I can get that one person to rethink that decision.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got a massive ripple effect.
Yes.
Small bites, you know?
And I want to say, if you are breeding in your backyard, especially if you're breeding pit bulls, call us. We want to talk to you. No, we just want to explore the conversation, see your perspective.
You keep saying call. I just want to say, I'm not giving my cell number out to anyone. So,
okay. So what's
Candy is offering it, apparently.
No. Okay. Email the show, thebark@lawssavingpaws.org. Sorry. David Duchovny, thebark@lawssavingpaws.org. Email us if you're a breeder, if you have a process down, if you're
we don't care. And that is actually what inspired. Thank you, Candy. Because yes, we encourage those conversations really to learn more.
Yeah,
that's it. And that is what at the very beginning of this for me, I spoke with a responsible breeder, and I knew they were responsible because of all of the precautions they had to take in their home. Like they were telling me about the list of things that they needed to do and adjust in order to breed responsibly. They have been doing it in the family for decades.
Right.
I felt good about what I was hearing.
Right.
And it was actually that conversation with those folks at the very beginning, probably in maybe September, October of last year.
Yeah.
And who kind of opened the door for me. And I thought, wow, this kind of isn't fair. You guys are getting like the short end of the stick. It's not fair. You're being thrown under the bus because of all these people who are doing it this other way.
It's kind of protecting the reputation and practices of an industry.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. That I can't wait for that episode. If we're being honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a lot. I mean, I talk to people all the time about even like the spay and neuter. I mean, the laws, the rescue law. You were just saying there's so much happening right now, and people are like, "Really? We don't have a law for that? Really? We have a law for that? Really? That organization is doing that? Really?
Right.
It's just, and you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So yeah, we just please ask that you don't sue us.
Yeah.
And pretty please with the cherry on top. So I mean, I think we've covered about all of it. Candy, is there anything else you think we've left out?
No, I would say that the Bark is an initiative of Laws Saving Paws. Please feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Listen to our podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And we want to hear from you. Are there topics in your neighborhood? Are there things that you're seeing? Do you have concerns that you want to talk about? Are you a vet? Are you a breeder or somebody else that wants to join our show or talk about particular topics? We're starting from scratch. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
Again, join us next time. And in the meantime, write in. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes. Write in. Don't call.
Don't call. The Bark@lawssavingpaws.org.
Yes. Thanks.